All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going deep into the secret life of one of the most important and honestly, one of the most mysterious cells in our entire immune system, the neutrophil.
So let's kick things off with a fact that sounds, well, it sounds kind of crazy. Neutrophils are the most common immune cells we have. Our bodies make billions of them every single day. And yet they live for less than 24 hours. They're born, they fight, and then they're gone. It's an incredibly short, intense life.
And that right there, that's the central mystery, isn't it? Why would our bodies pour so much energy into making these cells only for them to be so disposable? What's the secret behind this whole live fast, die young strategy? And maybe more importantly, is that really the end of their story?
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to first wrap our heads around the fundamental contradiction that is the neutrophil. Think of neutrophils as the immune system's elite special forces. They are the absolute first responders. The second an alarm goes off about an infection, boom, they are on the scene ready to fight whatever they find. So yeah, they're numerous, they're incredibly fast, and they are armed to the teeth with a whole arsenal of nasty weapons to take out pathogens. But the defining feature, the thing that's always puzzled scientists, is that brutal, less than 24-hour lifespan. This constant cycle of making billions of cells just for them to die off. It's a real head-scratcher.
So the first big break in the case came when scientists were just watching these cells get old and die under a microscope, and they saw something they absolutely did not expect. This quote right here, this really captures that aha moment. As these neutrophils were getting older, researchers saw them pinching off these really big bubbles or vesicles. Now, the crucial part is, this wasn't the cell exploding or dying messily. Nope. This was a very controlled, deliberate process happening while the cell was still alive, just nearing retirement.
And this observation led them to identify something completely new to science. They gave it a name that's actually pretty straightforward: large aging neutrophil-derived vesicles, or for short, LANVs.
So you might be thinking, what's the big deal? Cells release vesicles all the time, right? We have tiny exosomes that used to talk to each other, and apoptotic bodies, which are basically the leftover bits when a cell dies. But LANVs, as you can see here, they didn't fit into any of those boxes. They were way bigger, and they came from cells that were aging, not dead. This meant they were a totally new class of vesicle, a new discovery.
Okay, so neutrophils make these mysterious new things, but what do they do? Well, the answer turned out to be the key that unlocked the entire paradox. This diagram really tells the whole story. Over on the left, you've got the start of inflammation. The neutrophils rush in, they're fighting bacteria, it's chaos. But then look to the right. As things are winding down, the aging neutrophils release these LANVs. And what do? They step in to actively shut the whole inflammatory process down. And there it is, the big twist. The very same cell that starts the fire is also the one that brings the fire extinguisher. It's a built-in, pre-packaged off switch, making sure that the battle doesn't get out of hand and start damaging our own healthy tissues. It's brilliant, really.
So how does this off switch actually work? Well, it's this really elegant four-step process. First, the neutrophil just lives its life and gets old. As it ages, this key protein, CD55, starts gathering in little clusters on its surface. Then the LANV buds off right from that spot, taking that heavy concentration of CD55 with it. And finally, the LANV floats around and uses all that CD55 to turn off something called the complement system.
So what's the complement system? You can think of it as the immune system's emergency alarm. It blares loudly, it amplifies the danger signal, and it calls in for backup. It is absolutely critical for fighting off infections. But if you let that alarm just keep ringing and ringing, you get chaos and a ton of collateral damage. Lambda-cytes are the ones that come in and hit the silence button.
But here's the really clever part. How do these little peacekeeper vesicles actually survive out there? Well, they're covered in what are basically don't-eat-me signals, like another protein called CD47. This signal is a message to the immune system's cleanup crew, the macrophages, telling them to just move along. This lets the LNVs stick around the site of the old battle, keeping things calm long after the neutrophils that made them are gone.
But hold on, the story doesn't stop there. As scientists took a closer look, they realized these LANVs had a few other superpowers up their sleeves.
In a totally different set of experiments, researchers put LANVs in a dish with cancer cells, and what they saw was, frankly, amazing. These little vesicles had a direct, toxic effect. They were actually killing the tumor cells.
And this wasn't just in a petri dish. Check out this chart. When they injected LANVs directly into tumors in mice, the tumors shrank significantly, and the mice survived longer. So they're not just peacekeepers, they can also be assassins when needed.
And if that wasn't enough, there's also evidence that LANVs help out with healing and repair. They seem to encourage the production of collagen, which is a key building block for fixing damaged tissue. I mean, this makes them a true multi-tool of the immune system.
So obviously, this isn't just fascinating biology. It cracks open an entirely new door for potential medical treatments.
This here is basically the scientific game plan. It's the roadmap for how we get from this incredible initial discovery all the way to actual therapies that can help people.
And that path is really broken down into 3 big goals. First, figure out exactly how these vesicles are made. We need to know the recipe. Second, we need to identify all the different types, because it turns out there might be more than one kind, each with its own job. And third, we need to fully explore what they do in different situations, from fighting tumors to healing wounds.
And all of this work could lead to some pretty amazing medical strategies. I mean, imagine being able to take a patient's own blood, make a batch of these super anti-inflammatory LANVs in the lab, and then give them back to the patient to treat diseases like arthritis or sepsis. Or what about engineering fully synthetic versions, off-the-shelf drugs that could act as powerful new anti-inflammatory agents? The possibilities are huge.
Which leaves us with this one final, really powerful thought. The neutrophil, this cell we thought was just a simple, short-lived soldier, was hiding an incredible secret. It doesn't just carry the weapons for war, it carries the blueprints for peace. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible secrets are our own bodies just waiting for us to discover?